breaking down all aspects of New York Yankees baseball. This is the Bronx Pinstripe Show with your hosts, Andrew Rotondi and Scott Ryan. Let's go.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show, episode 368. Late night for a lot of people. Late night for the Yankees. I don't know if you saw this. All the beat writers tweeting out that they were tarped and ready to go in case the Rays lost last night. That would have clinched the division. They didn't. Got to wait another night.
Oh, I personally jinxed it. You didn't see that? You didn't see that I was going back at Lindsay Adler tweeted a picture of Brandon Cuddy from NJ.com in. It was against a green screen, and he was wearing a green jacket. And I'm sorry, but I just can't let that. I can't let that picture be there and then not do something with it. So I, of course, went in and did the chroma key and put like the 2017 wild card bottle spraying celebration all over him.
Yeah.
And effectively jinxed so that we couldn't clinch last night.
That's
I was trying to do this. I was trying to do that on purpose.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, we need the Dodgers to lose, don't we?
Well, no, and not only that, but I just hate clinching when you don't win that game. It feels dirty. It feels wrong. The Yankees are going to clinch the division anyway, so that's a foregone conclusion at this point. So I would
if they lose the division, it's on me. I'll take that.
So if they lose the rest of the way out, yeah. But unless that happens, they're going to win the division. So you just want it to be on a win so you can not have to worry about what the other team is doing and not have to worry about the other team, which is playing a later game than you, which is like an extra wrinkle in all of this. I tweeted out yesterday morning. I was like, this could be weird. Yankees lose tonight and their game's over at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then they're sticking around until midnight to watch the end of the Rays game, which is exactly what happened. That thing went to extra innings. Yep. And it's like, okay, so they were going to pop bottles. That's not really fun. Like, wouldn't you rather just get a win, walk off the field, and then be able to pop bottles? That is how it should be done, and that's what's going to happen hopefully tonight.
That's exactly right. With win number 100, too. I mean, it's all very symbolic and beautiful. I think that's why it needs to happen in that way. So I'm glad that the Rays came back and won last night. Kenley Jansen, I think, blew his 8th save of the year. Like, that guy is definitely penetrable at this point. And the Dodgers are, again, look at big picture. We want the Dodgers to lose games. I don't care about the Rays.
Yeah, the Yankees are ahead of the Dodgers right now for home field. So
it's only by a game, I think.
If it gets that far. I can't think that far down the road.
No, but at the same time, like, I don't care if the Rays win a game or two at this point.
Oh, no.
Like, I'd rather the Dodgers lose that game.
Not at all. And the Yankees do have the tiebreaker with the Dodgers. I'm still looking at what Houston is doing more closely because the Yankees need to finish a game up on them to get home field. And I think, frankly, home field against Houston is more important than home field against the Dodgers in the World Series.
No, I understand that, but looking at everything, because I feel like at this point we can't be selective about what we're looking at. Let's just hope for the best in all circumstances, right?
Yeah, there's a scenario.
Win the AL East, that's number one. Like, and have a better record than everybody. Period.
Sure. There's a scenario though where they finish ahead of Houston, but under the Dodgers, so they would have home field in the ALCS, but not in the World Series. And I would take that over not having home field in the ALCS and then home field in the World Series.
Fine. If there's a gun to my head and you're asking me which one I need to be home field, I would rather get out of the East and get to the World Series and let the chips fall where they may.
And the Yankees proved that they played in, because I think it's more of a home game in Los Angeles for the Yankees than it is in Houston.
Oh, definitely.
So who knows
there's
what
some
the split is.
I mean, the Dodgers.
There's a crap ton of Yankee fans in Los Angeles that will be at those games if there's a World Series. That's not the case in Houston.
The Dodgers fan base is extremely strong and they're huge, but there are people that can infiltrate, and there are a lot of Yankee fans out there because it's such a transient city.
Right.
So there's a lot of New Yorkers out in that area that will show up to those games, even though the Dodgers fan base is thick.
Oh, and they travel too. Like,
they travel.
We've seen them travel, but I think there's more Yankee fans. There's more Dodger. What was I going to say? There's more Yankee fans in Los Angeles than Dodger fans in New York, even though the Dodgers used to be in New York.
Long time ago.
I know. I mean, maybe that's not true, and maybe all the Dodger fans who are still in New York are 90 years old, so they're not going to a baseball game,
or they're no longer. That's the other thing.
All right,
but no, they definitely travel. They definitely travel. I mean, that flag, you'll never. Oh, and I found out details about that flag too. I was talking to some of the Yankees ticket guys about that too. Apparently, they all came in with like little pieces of that flag and zipped it all together.
I respect the hell out of that.
So do I. I was like, damn, that's a lot of
We've gotten in the stadium with some stuff that otherwise is not normally let into the stadium. Nothing illegal, but stuff that it's just Yankees security doesn't want in the field, whether it's flags or camera or whatever it may be. But I'd imagine you could get that flag rolled up. It doesn't look that big.
Oh, the one that they had was huge. It was like an entire.
I know.
Section.
I know it was huge, but if you roll that thing up, it could fit in a duffel bag, right?
Maybe there's like a body in there. I mean, that's something big.
He does say that's a body. I'm smuggling a body in.
You can smuggle a body into Yankee Stadium easier than a flag.
So it was like probably in strips, and then they zipped it up.
Yeah, I guess it was in strips, or I'm thinking like I'm envisioning.
It can't all
like
be squares. That would be way too hard.
But no, it must have been in strips. I'm trying to find that online. I'm trying to find out where I can get that flag online.
That would have been funny if they zipped it up and realized like the pieces were out of order and the L and the A didn't make sense. But I'm looking at how the playoffs are starting to shape up because it's getting that time. And when the Yankees or Houston's going to get the 1 seed. They're going to get the winner of the wild card, which is at this point in time Tampa and Oakland, and that game will be, I think, in Oakland, which I think is good news for if the Yankees are the 1 seed, because then the winner of that game is flying back to the East Coast. Otherwise, the Yankees, if they're the 2 seed, are playing Minnesota, who's kind of like the sleeper in all this. Like
Minnesota is?
Yeah, like are we... I saw you were joking that you're worried about the Twins now because they have our old friend Ronald Torreyes on their team.
You think this is a joke? You think this is a joke? You don't think that I think that he's a magical little good luck charm? Because
I mean that sounds demeaning. Magical little. It sounds like you're calling him
you went there. I don't know why. I don't know why you had to go there.
Like I'm picturing he's like a little hobbit that like he's your mascot. Your good luck charm.
He's not Pedro's little midget guy. It's not sitting on anybody's shoulder.
Can't say the M word anymore.
I'm sorry. But he's one of those just he's a very likable character. Yeah, because that's what he is. He's a scrappy baseball player.
Would he even be on their playoff roster?
I just don't like the probably because if you were the Twins, aren't you trying anything at this point?
Yeah, to beat the
Yankees, absolutely anything. And I feel like if you have Little Toe on your team, you got a better chance.
So here's why do you remember earlier in the season I mocked the Twins and said I will never be afraid of the Twins?
I'm pretty sure that's come out of every one of our mouths.
No, but like I got into it with a couple Twins fans who were like, "Oh, the Yankees buy all their players," and then cited Aaron Hicks as a guy that they bought. And I'm
yeah.
You don't even know that you traded us Aaron Hicks. So like,
right, I remember.
I was fighting with a couple of all 6 members of Twins Twitter, and so that's the first thing where it's like I've got stuff out there on social media that people can expose me on, and now this Ronald Torreyes thing where you're right. If the Yankees do lose to the Twins and Ronald Torreyes is even on their team, he probably will never even play. But if he's on the bench high-fiving guys, that's going to come back to bite me in the ass when I have criticized Ronald Torreyes on this show for a full season. So
if I see him on someone's shoulders or being picked up and doing a high five to somebody, like it's going to be a problem. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I feel like there is there's a little bit of a scrappy good luck charm in that guy. It makes me a little nervous.
I can't bring myself to really take the Twins seriously.
I'm going to be honest. That's the only reason I'm nervous is because of Ronald Torreyes.
And that's not even a real reason.
That says something.
That's not a real reason. And I think a couple
things.
Nelson
Cruz just mashes the baseball.
Well, yeah, he's just a good baseball player. Yeah, and the Twins hit a lot of home runs, but so does everyone else. Wild week, though. Between Severino returning, and then on the night Severino returns, Dellin Betances goes down. I mean, it's like, can we have nice things for one night? Can we just not do this again? And for Dellin Betances, I feel horrible for that guy. But it was such a fun night on Tuesday because Severino looked good. He comes back.
Yeah.
Long-awaited start. What was the date? September 17th that he's making his first start. Way later than any of us ever expected. And he goes out there, and the first batter of the game is a 12-pitch walk. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you got to be kidding me with this.
Well, and it was, you could see the frustration level on his face because he wasn't putting the guy away. And it was a good at bat to his credit. But then Severino kind of got into his legs a little bit, and the ball started popping out, and got that huge double play, that huge ground ball.
Yeah, first inning could have been messy because he had the 12-pitch walk, a bloop, little bloop single. So it's 2 runners on, 1 out.
Yep.
And he gets a huge double play, but I mean,
that's it. It fired him up too.
It fired him up, and it was great. But like, if that, who knows if something else went wrong in that inning? So very happy it didn't. I thought O'Neill made a really good point in this game. On the broadcast, he was like, he just looked in the first couple innings, he couldn't put hitters away. Maybe that means there's not as much life on his pitches, which is natural. I mean, his arm is still building up strength. So I think that's what you saw in those first couple innings where, he would get into deep counts because guys were just getting a piece of his fastball or just getting a piece of his splitter.
I don't even think it's arm strength too. I mean, that was they were all talking about this. That was a big topic of conversation, obviously, during the broadcast. And Cohen was talking, the first thing that comes back is the velocity, the strength of the arm, but it's the touch, it's the feel, it's the way that the ball is leaving your fingertips, the way it's spinning, things like that. All that stuff takes a little bit more time to come back. And that's when you get that late movement. That's when you get the differences, the tailing, feels of the fastball, and then the movement on the slider. So yeah, I think it's just him getting into the flow, because once he got into it, you started seeing high 90s. You started seeing that fastball just pop out of his hand. I mean, it was coming out easy. The velocity was like and you could see like the thing about Severino as well is like he has a high 90s fastball, but that thing jumps on you too. It comes out of his hand so clean. It's nice to see. It's nice to see him hit the glove and just have that thing pop and him look like he's feeling good. So I didn't really care about what happened. I mean, granted, I wanted a positive result, but at the same time, like I wanted him to
get
come
shelled. That would have sucked. And people would have freaked out. But yeah, you're right. Health was the most important thing after that game.
Yeah, health, body language, and just kind of like the way he, just the way that he was had a presence up there as well. And I think he showed everything we wanted to see.
Yeah, and he got through 4 innings on 67 pitches. He was going to throw about 70. That's pretty efficient, especially when you consider 12 pitches for the first batter.
Yeah, exactly. He burned a lot of that in that first batter.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're going to talk about the Yankees pitching plan in this Tom Verducci article, but we've said a million times, like they're just trying to get everyone to 4 innings and just compile innings that way. But 67 pitches through 4 innings is, like I said, pretty efficient. I mean, that's about 100 pitches in 6 innings, which you're not going to really ask any of the starters to go more than 6 innings anyway. I don't know if he's going to be worked up to 100 pitches. He could get 2 more starts before the playoffs.
Yeah.
So the 22nd against Toronto is when he would line up. And then he can pitch in that Texas series on another 5 days rest, either that next Saturday or Sunday on the last weekend of the season. Because I don't expect – do you expect them to pitch Severino in one of the first 2 games of the division series?
Yeah, I mean – I don't expect it, but I wouldn't put it past them at this point. I think that if Severino's going really well, it's going to be hard for them to keep him off of the mound.
I mean, he could actually still pitch, say, this last Saturday of the season in Texas. He could still be on regular rest for game 2 of the division series, which is on a Saturday. So it would be Saturday to Saturday.
Yeah, I think what Boone will probably do, again, if everybody's healthy and everybody's looking the way that they want to look, is he'll try to tailor it so that someone is pitching at home that has much better numbers at home.
That's everybody.
That's everybody. But like you look at like Tanaka, to me is a guy that you want pitching at home.
Okay, but so here's the problem with that. Herman and Tanaka pitch much better at home.
I don't think Herman's starting a game with Severino coming back like this.
Paxton is the only one who pitches almost as well on the road as he does at home. But you're not going to hold Paxton to game 3.
Right.
So Paxton is getting the ball in either game 1 or 2. I would do it in game 1. Don't mess around. Don't get cute. You remember when the Indians got cute in the division series in 2017 and threw Kluber in game 2? It's like, what the hell are you doing, Francona? Just throw your best pitcher. Like, don't think about it too much. Keep it simple, stupid. Who's your best pitcher? James Paxton. Throw him game 1. Then move on. Like, it's not rocket science.
I mean, I agree with that too. And the thing is, I hope Severino makes this a difficult decision. I hope Severino continues to show that he can throw more. I think he's going to be damn close to 100 pitches by the time the playoffs start. And you move forward into that too, like thinking about if the Yankees can get past the ALDS, like you're going to have practically a fully ready to go Severino by the time the ALCS rolls around.
Yeah, say he's at 90 pitches for his ALDS start. He could be at 100 pitches for his next outing in the playoffs.
If he's at 90 pitches at this point and he's already
he was at 70 for this game.
So
say he's at 80 for his next start and then 90 for his last start.
Okay, we're really talking about, like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about 10 pitches.
But
I know the way they do things, but if you're talking about the playoffs and you're talking about 80 or 90 pitches, like, it's the same damn thing. Like, just let him go. If he could throw 80 pitches and 90 pitches, he could probably throw 100 pitches.
Yeah, I mean, that's common sense, but
that is common
sense. It's workload that these guys have these formulas where it's like you can only increase 11% per.
Right, but
start.
I think it's more about what those pitches mean and where they are in the rotation or where they are in the lineup and how what the game situation is, more than it will be played on. Well, he's at 80 pitches, 90 pitches. We got to pull him because of that. I think it's more going to play the situation of what's happening in the game.
Oh yeah, I mean, him throwing 67 pitches against the Angels without Mike Trout on a Tuesday in the Bronx does not have the same stress level as, say, against the Oakland Athletics in game 1 or 2 or 3 of the ALDS. It just doesn't.
Right. Yeah, no, that's the thing. So I'm not going to be so hung on those pitches, but I think what they are is they're saying, okay, well, today was this, the next one will be this. And whether it's because he could be throwing more pitches before the game as well. He could be throwing, who knows if he threw afterward, not too many pitches before the game,
but also
or not
too few,
not too few,
not too late, not too early. Just right.
But the other thing is, like, when you're coming at 67 pitches, like, how many pitches are you going and throwing in the tunnel afterwards? Are you doing that? Are you, what's the plan outside him being on the mound? Because there very well could have been, a handful of pitches thrown underneath that they just didn't talk about as well. So who knows? But I think that they're just game by game going to ramp him up more. And if you look at the body language and you look at the way that Boone and Severino are talking in the dugout, like, it was all good. Like, Severino, I mean, it almost looked like Boone was trying to pull him after 3, and you could see that he's like, "What are you talking about?" No, I'm good. It's like, you take the boxer into the corner and you check his hands.
How many fingers?
Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, there's clearly two fingers. My hands are good.
No one's tapping my neck to tell me how many fingers you're holding.
Throw that towel in, I will kill you."
The thing that I immediately realized I love so much about Severino, he throws the pitch, he goes back and stands on the top of the mound, and he puts his glove out. He's, "Give me the fucking ball."
Yeah.
No dicking around.
Right.
Not going to pick my ass and walk around the mound and touch the rosin bag and take 45 seconds. I'm ready to go. I love that. So that's my favorite thing about Luis Severino.
Yeah, I mean, I love that about every pitcher who does that. It's you're to me, at that point, you're now dictating the flow of the game, and you're not allowing any other nonsense to come in. And if you're just taking that much time, a la David Price, and just like putting everybody to sleep, to me, like, I know that it's effective for that pitcher, or at least they think it is. But in the grand scheme of things, like, you're not dictating the flow of the game anymore, because the batter can step out if they want to. There could be a number of things that can happen. But if you're going up, getting the ball and going, like, you better be ready as a batter. You better be ready as a fielder. You better be ready as everybody's on their toes at that point. So I like that. I like that for the whole team. Everybody behind you too. I think it makes everybody more a little bit more aware.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this Verducci article in SI. He quoted Aaron Boone, who said, "We're going to be a little untraditional. The only one we might use as a traditional starter is Paxton." And then Verducci wrote, "By traditional, Boone means a starting pitcher who goes as deep as he can into a game. Otherwise, New York is prepared to script each game with piggybacking starters and 6 key relievers. That doesn't make the Yankees vulnerable." Why can't I say that word?
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable. It makes them smart. So I tried to think about, okay, pitchers they'll push deep into the game. Paxton, that's the only one. Pitchers who can go.
You say push deep into a game. I think that if they're cruising, they'll go deeper. There's no pushing.
I mean,
deeper.
When you say push, I'm taking this to mean, I'm taking this by what Verducci wrote, And based on his conversation with Boone, I guess you could interpret a, quote, traditional starter is literally someone who starts the game.
Yeah.
So is that how you're taking it?
No. What I'm saying is you're saying pushing deep into a game. When I hear the word push, to me that's saying, well, I'm going to extend this guy. Maybe it's beyond what we want, but I'm going to push him forward because I think he can do that. I don't think they're going to push anybody beyond a certain limit. I think there's going to be a limit for every guy. And I think that limit, like when we say push James Paxton into the 6th inning.
Well, so here, maybe let me word it this way. The goal going into the game is for Paxton to pitch 6+. Is that fair?
Okay. Yeah.
The goal going into the game for the following pitchers is to pitch 4+. Tanaka, Severino, Herman, Happ, even though I put Happ in there, but I don't think he's really belongs in that category. Then who are guys that we can get 2 innings, maybe a little over 2 innings out of? And that's Chad Green, Sabathia if he's on the roster, Sessa, Loizaga, Heller. If those guys are there, those are like...
Loizaga is not going to be in the
But what
roster.
I'm saying, just pitchers who I could see, for whatever reason, being on the roster, guys who can go 2+ innings are those guys. And then the 1-inning guys are Chapman, Britton, Ottavino, Canely, and no longer Dellin Betances.
Oh, that's so sad because we were going to have him back, and that was going to be awesome. But, yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I think Chad Green is going to be an interesting guy to keep an eye on this whole playoffs because we've seen him now go 3 innings at times. We've seen him go 2 innings. We've seen him go 1 inning. We've seen him be an, quote, opener, even though I hate that word. We've seen him, be a guy that comes in at the end of the game, and he looks really good. just watching the way he is carrying himself right now and the way that ball is coming out of his hand, he looks really good. And I would not be surprised if they used him in any shape or form. Like I could see them going 3 innings with him. I could see them going 1 inning in a high leverage situation. I think he's very much that fire extinguisher that we've talked about in the past, like the David Robertson type of player this year. I think he's going to be that guy.
I don't necessarily see them bringing him in a jam though.
No, I think it would be more of a clean inning, but but the length is more. I think that he could get up to 3 innings. I think Boone would extend him.
I'd say 2 is the sweet spot because in theory you could use him in game 2 of the DS for 2 innings, piggybacking off of say Tanaka, and then you could piggyback him with Herman in game 4 for another 2 innings because that's 2 days off in between those outings for him. Yeah, 2 innings, 2 days off, 2 innings.
Again, I don't like the script with the relief pitchers. I don't think they're going to be going into a matchup with that in mind, where you're going to definitely use him for 2 innings. I think if the game dictates that after a 1 inning, when you bring him in and he's pitching well, and depending on where they are in the lineup, and if the circumstances are right, you'll push him to another inning because he's going well, and now you can save a guy because this is a very good option. I don't think there's going to be that firm game plan like we've seen in the past. I hope Boone has learned.
No, they clearly have a game plan.
No, there's going to be a game plan, but I'm not saying it's going to be a hard script in the sense that he's going to have to, go 2 today and then 2 then. I think it's going to dictate the game, and then they'll go off script for whatever happens after that.
Yeah, he got burned by that last year.
Yeah, but he also left two guys.
No, he got burned by what you just said, trying to say, okay, my plan for Sabathia in this game is 3 innings, so I got to get 3 innings on him. I'm going to stretch him even though the game's telling me not to stretch him. He got burned by that. He got burned by Severino in game
I'm saying
3.
the exact opposite. I'm saying that if Chad Green on the game 2 were to go in there and throw 1 inning and look good, he may extend him to a 2nd inning because he looks good. I'm not saying because that's the plan, but I'm saying because on that given day, depending on where they are in the lineup, the way he looks, the way that the catcher is telling me that the ball is feeling and moving and all this crap, they may extend him to another inning. Yeah. And I'm saying that decision will not be made because he's throwing because there's a script for him for 2 days later.
No, yeah, we're saying the same thing.
Okay. But I think that Boone is learning from again, I hope that Boone has learned in the sense that I'm not going to be so rigid on a plan. I don't want a binder. We got rid of the binder for a reason.
He got exposed with his pitching decisions in the ALDS last year. Boone did.
Yes. First-year manager.
Yeah, I think this is part of the reason why he's like these quotes about we're going to be a little untraditional. Like there's been discussions all season, and part of it is this is what the pitching staff has dictated. But
isn't this kind of what tradition is over the past 3 years in the playoffs?
No, I mean, look at what the Red Sox did and what the Astros did 2 years ago. It's the teams who have won and who have gotten deep into the World Series, like the Dodgers too. They have traditional starters.
But they also have their starters that are being used as bullpen pieces, and they went to a whole bunch of different pitchers.
But no team
they're extending guys.
No team has won a World Series with what the Yankees are going to try and do this year.
Maybe
even the Royals a couple years ago. People always cite the Royals as like a super bullpen that did exactly what the Yankees are going to try and do this year. No, go back and look at what happened. They had guys who started normally, and they would go 5 innings, and then they would bring their bullpen in. That's not what is going to happen with the Yankees. It's going to be way more fluid than that.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, like I just said, is this is the pieces they have to play with. This is what they've learned is the strength of their team, is working pitching like this. But I think as much of it is this is a plan. They realized, why did we get bounced in the first round to the Red Sox? Our pitching sucked. Our manager made bad pitching decisions, and it burned us. This is something we got to change going forward. So I think that's why we're starting to hear about all this stuff. It's risky, but at the same time, the only way I see them winning.
Yeah, at the same time, it's kind of the way that they've won this season.
Right.
It's going off of that. That's what I'm saying in the sense that like they're going off script. Like this is the script. This has been the script for them too, pretty much all year long. It's like it's still that mentality of, well, if this guy isn't going to do it, the next guy will do it, and they're using all of the people on their roster and all the people that are active. It's really not that much different.
25 deep, baby.
It's a lot of stress on the coaching staff and the manager because they have to pull the right decisions at that given time.
You got to be.
And there's going to be a lot of those decisions made.
This conversation. So did you see that? I forget if it was a review of our show or on Twitter where someone, I think it was Twitter, they were like, you guys argue and you're making the same point, but you don't realize you agree with one another. And you'll talk for 10 minutes, not realizing you're just saying the same thing in a different way. This conversation reminded me of that. And sorry if there's people out there like screaming at their speaker, being like, "You two morons are saying the same thing."
See, I don't even think we were saying the same thing, but
we were. I want to talk about Ottavino because he had a bit of a meltdown on Wednesday.
I feel like we've had a few meltdowns with him.
You start to get a little worried about Ottavino?
Yeah, that frisbee slider, man, is getting it's looking like a beach ball right now to me, and the some of the dumb stuff that's happening out there. It's just kind of weird. It's like like when you see a person, like you're like, oh yeah, they're really cool, and then you start seeing their quirks, and you're like, wait a minute, like that's not as cool as it used to be.
I mean, obviously, you still trust Ottavino over Sessa or some of the.
Sessa looked good last night. Sessa looked good.
I think Sessa is going to be on the playoff roster. But we talked about the bullpen hierarchy last episode when there was Betances, and he's no longer there. But I think Ottavino is firmly behind Canely Britton in pecking order going into the playoffs.
Well, I think they've gone different ways too. I think Britton has probably become a lot more dependable. I think as the season's gone on, he's gotten stronger, and maybe that's just more of an evolution of the player coming back from that Achilles, which is very troublesome thinking about that because of Betances.
Yep.
But
that's a good comp actually.
But I think that it's
although Betances is not as serious as
it's not as serious,
now.
But I don't know what's worse is like having something that's partially torn and then not having surgery,
right, and then
or having surgery and fixing it.
Yeah,
and then not.
No man's land is kind of like the worst thing with that. Like Tanaka was kind of in no man's land with his elbow, and he pitched through it.
He's not stopped.
It's crazy.
But no, so Britton has gotten there, and then Canely, man, I feel like Canely just gets better every day. Like Canely's throwing 98 miles an hour now too, and has a wipe away changeup.
He's a reverse split guy. He's better against lefties.
Yeah, it's because of that changeup.
Yeah, he's like I think Canely. You mentioned fireman. I think Canely's the fireman if there's a jam and you need strikeouts.
Okay, in a situational, for sure. I think if you're looking for someone to steady the game and to get some more depth in that, it's Chad Green. But I agree with that. I think if you're looking for
fifth
a
inning,
big strikeout,
right? Fifth inning, first two guys reach. You need a couple strikeouts. I think you would bring in Canely over Chad Green in that situation.
In the 5th inning, yeah. So then you have 6, 7, 8.
Fourth or fifth inning. Two men on in a jam.
4th inning, I think 4th inning. I still think that.
Why are you letting one in? Why are you letting one inning change who you're gonna? You could lose the game in the 4th inning as much as you could lose the game in the 8th inning.
Yeah, I just don't. I think the mentality is they're trying to get some length from that guy.
So get out of the 4th inning and then bring in Chad Green. See, this is what pisses me off about some managers, and like just because like it's happened with Boone this year, just because it's early in the game doesn't mean it's not a critical situation. Get out of the inning and then figure it out. Because it's a critical situation,
and there's not one person that can get out of that either. Like I still think, I mean, if there's a lefty up, then
I'm not saying you bring in Aroldis Chapman in the 3rd inning or 4th inning. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think there's much difference if you need a couple strikeouts to get out of a jam early in the game. Bring in Tommy Canely and then go to Chad Green after that, or then go to Luis Cessa after that. You don't need to just
go to Cessa. Oh man!
If you need a couple innings, go.
I'm just saying the tune has changed with Luis Cessa. Now he's talking about a couple innings in the playoffs.
I think he is a diet version of Chad Green.
Wow,
that's how he's going to be used. Multiple innings in less leverage than Chad Green will get.
I think a lot less leverage. I think you're not going to Luis Cessa in any kind of a leverage situation. I don't think he's there.
If you need 2 innings,
as much as I like his stuff and think that he's gotten a lot better this year, I still don't think he's there in the pecking order.
Well, he's going to be on the roster and he's going to be the last man in the bullpen. So what I'm saying is, and maybe Heller too. He kind of looked good in his most recent outing. But if you need multiple innings, Cessa is a guy who can go multiple innings. Britton's not going multiple innings on a regular basis. I mean, he can go more than 3 outs. Ottavino can get more than 3 outs, and so can Canely. But they're not going to be, because you're not going to be using those guys for 2 innings. That's not a plan.
It depends on what the game situation is, but I think it would obviously. But I don't know. I'm not seeing Cessa there. I think Cessa is going to be one of those guys. If you need a game that's gotten out of hand and you need some innings to kill the bullpen, like that's him. I don't think he's going to be brought in.
I think that's Jay Happ.
Maybe. It'll be very interesting to see how this roster pans out and how the pitching staff pans out, because they're going to need a couple of those long guys for this situation if it were to come up. Because if you don't have that guy, then you're putting your entire staff now at a handicap, and you're having there's a very big potential for a problem down the road.
Yeah.
So and the percentages just go up of that happening when you're messing around with these starting pitchers only going short outings, 2, 3, 4 innings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't mistake what I'm saying. Luis Cessa is still the last guy in the bullpen.
Luis Cessa versus Ronald Torreyes. On the line, who you got?
So Sabathia, that's probably the last time we saw him pitch in the Bronx. Got a standing ovation. He's going to get honored on Sunday before the game. He got an emotional send-off walking off the mound yesterday in the 3rd inning, I believe it was.
Yeah, he hit a wall. He looked really good for the first 2.
Did he strike out the side in the second?
In the 2nd inning, yeah. And he even had like a long peer over towards the Angels.
Well, he was pissed after that bunt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was in the second.
Oh, yeah, but in the first
inning. How many times are you going to get pissed off over a bunt and understand that like the other team knows that you're going to get pissed off at the bunt and they're just going to keep bunting? Like that. If I'm being honest, like if I was on the other team and I knew he hated when people do that, I would probably do that.
I was in Midtown during the 1st inning yesterday, and I felt the ground shake when he belly flopped for that bunt.
Yeah. he does not like it. And no, I mean, he looked good after 2, and then all of a sudden, like,
Right, but if he's on the playoff roster, that's him.
He should not be on the playoff roster.
I don't think he will be either, but if he is.
Yeah. I mean, barely too. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can't trust that 2nd inning either. You can't trust it.
You can't trust it. You're rolling the dice out there.
There's too many.
And he doesn't even
the way
bring.
That he pitches is too risky because he has to walk guys.
And he doesn't even bring value in the sense like, okay, we need mop-up innings. Let him go out there, because he can't do that either.
No, he puts a stranglehold on that position in the.
It's a wasted roster spot.
It's a wasted roster spot. I'd rather have Luis Cessa in that roster spot. Yeah.
And Sabathia will still be in the clubhouse, in the dugout, firing guys up, packing massive lips, yelling at guys. If there's if there's an argument with an umpire, let Sabathia go out there. He's retiring. Pay his fines Everyone pitches in a couple $1,000s to pay his fines. Boom, done. That's what I want Sabathia doing.
Absolutely. You see in football this past week, Roethlisberger go down, right? Now he's like, oh, I'm going to be the quarterback's coach. I'm going to be there helping out everything. Like, that's Sabathia at this point.
Yeah. Sabathia will not let Luis Severino forget the game time.
No, that's a good thing. Well, he might. He might be if he's not pitching on a given day. I don't know how into it he is until the game starts.
Big G was back too, activated for Wednesday's game, double in his first at bat. A lot of people, when we put out that clip of our show last time saying who is more key for coming back, Giancarlo or Encarnacion, a lot of people disagreed with us because we kind of settled on it. Stanton is more important because of his value he can provide in left field, whereas Encarnacion's DH first base, which you already have. A lot of people were saying, no, give me Eddie.
Yeah, I also think that a lot of people weren't going past the surface on that one.
Yeah.
And when they're doing it, when you have a Twitter poll, they don't really, a lot of people don't look into the other reasons. Because when you lay it out, it's very clear what it is. The fact that people have this thing about Stanton is just crazy to me.
It pisses me off because they treat him like they treated A-Rod.
Like he's Shelley Duncan.
No, they treat him like they treated A-Rod pre-2009. Where at least you had multiple playoffs of A-Rod choking and the Yankees getting bounced early. Stanton had one bad playoffs, and he didn't play this year. And if you're telling me he's going to be out there pretty much in left field healthy for the remainder of the season, there's no way in hell I am not starting him.
Right.
That is asinine.
It's like the epitome of overthinking anything to the smallest degree. Like, you don't have to think about that. That's a plug-and-play player. You put him in. He's healthy, you play him. That's what you do. He's literally an MVP from not that long ago, 2 years ago.
Right. It's not like he won the MVP in 2005 and he's now Albert Pujols. That's not who we're talking about.
No. This is a guy still in his peak. And when I'm looking at him, I said I wanted to watch him. I wanted to see what he looked like throughout, just to put some eyes on him because we hadn't put eyes on him in a long time. There's been so many things that we've talked about him. I remember talking about not knowing what to expect from him, but at the same time, in the same breath, saying it would not surprise me if we came out and he was completely healthy and looked totally normal because I'm not sure he was really that injured for as long because we don't know what he was.
We don't know
we have no idea what was going on.
Yeah, we don't know what the injuries were.
So when I see him out there and he looks like a very normal, healthy player, looking like he's moving around in left field, no problem, throwing the ball with no problem, had a good throw to home plate that probably should have been, a put out at the plate if Romine holds on or Higgy holds on to that ball. He moved around fine. Like I thought he looked okay at the plate, had roped the double his first at bat. He looked great. He looked fine. He looked like Stanton.
Right.
Looked like there were no holdbacks at all.
If he's healthy, he's on the never sit list in the playoffs.
Definitely, especially with the situation in left field.
Right.
And like everybody's like, oh, Cameron Maybin. Cameron Maybin is a nice player and he's done a really good job, but his wrist is also, I think, somewhat of an issue at this point. You could see him out there a couple days ago, messing around with it.
And love you, Cameron. Mean it. But Giancarlo's better.
That's not even a question mark.
And he would be the first to be like, why are you playing me? Stanton's right there.
Right, exactly.
I'll be the backup outfielder if you need me, but play that guy.
Right. And that's the thing. Like he adds another dynamic to your team, and he's adding the flexibility by being a starting left fielder. If you have Encarnacion in there,
outfield goes from a weakness with Maybin or Tyler Wade or Clint Frazier starting in left field to a strength with Stanton, Judge, and Gardner in center field.
Yes.
It's not a question. So I was thinking about the lineup. I don't think it's too early to start talking about the postseason lineup. Shit, we've been talking about the postseason since
that's what we're all
August 1st.
Right? There's nothing else.
So we just talked about the outfield. The infield is Glaber and LeMahieu always play.
Yeah.
Didi, Voit, Urshela on a rotation basis.
Which is crazy when you look at what Urshela's done this year because Urshela is an impact player. And I know there's a camp out there that wants Glaber at short and Didi as the guy that doesn't start every single game because Urshela has been that good. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the numbers and you take away the names of the players and who they are, it's not a difficult argument, honestly. Like you look at the numbers and the numbers.
Didi's been the worst hitter on the team, minimum 100 plate appearances this year.
The numbers speak volumes, but if you guys, the people that listen to this show, and you know me as well, like I just like Didi being out there. I like him being out there, and I like the way that he hits in big situations, and I think that's a real thing. So
fair, but
nerds won't agree with
he was hitting 4th last night and 3rd the night before. He should not be hitting there in the playoffs.
I agree with that. I don't like the fact that I don't think that stacking is a problem. The whole stacking the lineup thing, not a problem. Like the fact that he's a lefty.
Oh yeah, that's why. I mean, people are like, no, you need that lefty bat. Splitting up the righties.
That's not a thing. That's not a thing anymore.
Give me LeMahieu. Don't overthink it. Just like don't overthink anything else with Paxton or Stanton. Give me LeMahieu. Give me Judge. Give me Glaber. If Gary's healthy, give me Gary. If Stanton's healthy, give me Stanton. All those guys need to be getting more at bats than Didi in the playoffs.
You know, the whole lefties, that whole situation was so big, like in the early 2000s, I'd say, when you had these like really, really big power hitters, these left-handed power hitters, and then you had guys like Mike Myers and like these dedicated lefty guys that would come in for one person and one person only. Like that guy doesn't really exist as much in today's baseball. There's a multiple.
I mean, it's definitely going away next year if it still does exist.
Yeah, but there's a multitude of guys that now that there's just not that one lefty specialist. You're seeing it less and less. You're seeing more guys that can do more flexible things. So I just don't think it's as big of a problem as it has been. And when your strength is all right-handed power hitting, and that's where your clear strength is, put your best hitters up.
Yeah, people are like, oh, it didn't work last year when you stacked Judge and Sanchez and Stanton. But this year, you have LeMahieu in the mix. You have Gio Urshela in the mix, who, do you realize Gio Urshela has been the best hitter on the Yankees?
He's definitely up there. But it still baffles my mind when I see his
depending
numbers
on. I mean, you look at batting average, no, but actually no, is he up there? Because batting average is up there. Yeah, batting average is up there, but WRC plus is what I was sorting it by. Gio Urshela is first. Didi Gregorius is last.
Okay. I mean, I know that there's that it's out there, but it doesn't have to be. You're also putting in a number of things. You're putting in Glaber at shortstop now as well, and you're putting LeMahieu at second base. So theoretically, like defensively, are you better or worse when you have Glaber over at short? No. Also, Glaber hasn't been playing short very much at all this season. So, I don't want him over there.
I saw this on the Yes broadcast. They said, what's the best defensive infield for the Yankees? And they got it wrong. They said Urshela at third, Didi at short, Glaber at second, LeMahieu at first. That's not the best defensive infield. The best defensive infield is not starting Gleyber Torres. But that is not happening because Gleyber Torres is probably the weakest defender in the infield.
Well, taking out first base, because when you take out...
But first base isn't as important. You put Encarnacion at first base. He's actually slightly above league average.
Yeah.
And that is a better
Encarnacion
defensive...
doesn't exist right now.
That is a better situation if you have premier defense up the middle with LeMahieu at second and Didi at short. But that's not going to happen. You're not sitting Gleyber Torres.
No, you're not. But the other thing is when you're looking at defense, it changes if you have Voit over at first base.
Oh yeah, Voigt's terrible
next to Encarnacion, because right now Encarnacion's not a player. So until he is a player, that's not a scenario that anybody can look at, because Voit is not a good defender. He's a terrible defender.
He's very bad. And
people are always like flashing when he flashes. Well, the reason he dives and makes plays occasionally is because his feet don't work and he has to dive to get to those balls.
Yeah, no.
So like they're glorified for bad reasons because his footwork is terrible.
Right. So in that sense, LeMahieu would be the better option at first base, but you're not going to get many. You're not going to sit LeMahieu. You're not going to sit Glaber. So they're always playing. So Glaber is probably always playing at second, and LeMahieu is either playing first or third.
Right.
And Didi, I think, even though I would consider sitting him in certain situations and putting Glaber at short for a game, or in the middle of a game, you do a rotation where you shift guys around. I could see that happening. But I'm not suggesting you bench Didi, but you also don't bat him third or fourth. You put him seventh or eighth or ninth. That's where he belongs in the lineup right now with how he's been hitting.
You know, all the analytics guys, when you're looking at the numbers and you're trying to make decisions based on a computer game, you're also not looking at the fact that you sit Didi for a game. Now you're starting shortstop. Who is your starting shortstop? Let's all be very clear about that. He is the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees. He has been. Nothing has changed that. Whether his numbers are proving that he's been the guy that we all expected or not, there's a tone set when you're not starting him at shortstop as well, an internal tone. And if you don't think that matters, then I think you're looking at numbers too much, because while the numbers are important in the sense that they can dictate who plays and who matches up well, I think that there is an absolute tone that can be set by not starting Didi at shortstop because of that.
Maybe.
And I don't want to mess with that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I wouldn't mess with it. I'm not benching him either. All right, but it's poor Dellin Betances. This sucks for so many levels, but I mean, the Yankees can still win a World Series without Dellin Betances. Would he be nice to have in the bullpen? Absolutely. But I mean, this guy, he throws 8 pitches this season, and he's going into a free agent year now with a partially torn Achilles that might need surgery. He's never really got a big paycheck that he deserves for being one of the best relievers in baseball since for 5 years, 6 years. He's been the best reliever in baseball, or one of the best relievers in baseball, and he hasn't gotten really paid yet.
Right.
And he's not going to get paid this offseason. He's going to get a prove me contract.
Yeah, or unless someone goes out on a limb, and it's not going to be to what he would get if he were healthy. Obviously.
The Yankees are not going to go out on a limb for him. If he wants to stay with the Yankees, if he wants to stay with the Yankees, he's going to be taking a 1-year prove me contract. Maybe there's a team that gets desperate and gives him a couple years with an option, and he could go and take it, and I wouldn't fault him for it. But if he's still pitching for the Yankees, it's a prove me.
Yeah. Or there's more on the
incentives.
Yeah. More on the incentives, more on the length, less on the AAV, similar to what Hicks got. Not to that extent, but in structure, if you're looking at the way that those deals were made, you have a guy that's really not proven to be healthy, but at the same time, you're getting length and security. Could be a way that they go, because you're seeing those contracts more. It's harder to do that, I think, with a relief pitcher, especially on a bad Achilles. But I could see him getting a type of offer. It's not to the extent of what was 7 years, 6-7 years.
No, you're not going to pay a 31-year-old reliever.
No, that's the point. Years. But it would be somewhere like 3 to 4 years. I could see something like that. Either way, it's a bad situation for him and his ability to make money in baseball. It's just everything has gone poorly as far as off the field with the scenarios for him and any kind of leverage. It's all gone.
And how did this happen? Landed awkwardly on the mound. Is it when he skipped off when he thought he ended the inning? Is that when
I watched that video 100 times.
He smiled walking off the mound.
So I think that there's a strain when you hear a partial tear, to me that's not that's not a full pop, right? You're not feeling that. You're feeling like a strain, what was that type of thing?
I might have turned my ankle there. It'll be fine. But
right. So when you hear partial torn Achilles, I think it sounds worse than what it would feel like. Because I feel like it's probably way more sore the next, or a little bit after that. You have that adrenaline. You're not feeling much at that point. Your first two, you're back, you're pumped up, you're excited, you're probably not feeling that much. So I couldn't really see much in there.
Well, it might not have been on that exact play. It could have just been on one of the pitches he threw.
No, exactly. It could have been from before, and that's the most obvious thing to look at. It very well could have. The damage could have been done before that for sure. But no, it's fluky. It's just a weird. It's a weird thing.
It would really suck if that's the last he ever pitches for the Yankees.
Yeah, it would. It would. It's not a good way to go out. It's really unfortunate. It really is, because he's such a good dynamic player too, and the guy that's been a homegrown guy that you want to see do well as a fan, he's that guy. And the fact that he's gotten kind of a raw deal. Yeah, with management, not with management,
publicly,
with
ownership, bad mouthing him in arbitration.
Who's a kid, a New York guy? This is a New York guy through and through. Everything about him is the Yankees.
Know your fan base. Everyone loves Dellin Betances, and I've seen some jackass takes saying, "Oh, the Yankees don't need Betances anyway. He melts in big spots." These were the same people probably already penciling him in for the 7th or 8th inning after he struck out those 2 batters in Toronto. It's things change quickly.
It's the batters who melt when they see that curveball and think it's a fastball coming at their head.
Yeah, he's struggled in certain situations, as has pretty much every reliever. But he's had some high-profile meltdowns for the Yankees when he got his shot at being a closer a couple different times. And, maybe that blew his chances. Maybe he blew his chances with the Yankees by melting down in those situations. But it doesn't change the fact that he's been an absolutely filthy reliever for them for a long time, and it would suck if this is the last we see him.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so a couple more games at home. They're going to clinch at home. Hopefully it's tonight. Tanaka's on the mound. I actually wanted to talk about this too. So Tanaka's pitching Thursday night. If you extrapolate that to game 1 of the ALDS, that's Tanaka's start. Does that mean anything?
No, I think it's too far away to make that call. As far as you're talking about, like the way that the days play out.
Yeah, because obviously he would get one more start next week. But if you play it out, like count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It lands
but Tanaka's
on
a guy
1.
that they have no problem extending a day or two and being totally fine.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I was just thinking, talking about the pitching again and not being traditional, but Paxton being the only traditional starter, do they do a piggybacking with Tanaka in game 1 and then say, Paxton, game 2 is yours?
Yeah. It's possible that they could do that. I wouldn't be surprised if Paxton were in 1 or 2. But
here's the problem with that. If you're doing that, then you have to potentially do piggybacking in 4 out of 5 ALDS games.
I mean, isn't that what the whole conversation was? Is this whole piggybacking thing going to be a thing besides Paxton?
Yeah, but if you start Paxton in game 1, in theory, he pitches 1 and 5, and you're piggybacking 3 games.
Fine, but you're going too far into that in the sense that you're expecting now 6 to 7 innings for him, and it's very possibly not going to be that case. Like let's all be very realistic. If he doesn't come out there and just utterly dominate, he's not going to get that far. But it's got to be domination. Like it's got to be so very clear that he's on and nobody can touch him in that given day to go that far.
So this is why I'm thinking what he meant by traditional is not deep into games. It's literally starting the game.
Maybe. But then you're messing with things that you haven't done.
Tanaka's never been the second out of
you're messing with things that have not happened this year. So
Severino hasn't.
Right. I think there's too many things. I think there's too much reading into what he's saying in the sense. That's why I'm talking about, like, I don't think it's that far off base of what Houston did and what the Red Sox have done. You're going to have a starting pitcher. Then you're going to have other guys who come in and maybe they're not a typical relief guy or could be a starting pitcher coming in a little earlier.
Why do we have to put labels on things, man? Let's just call them all pitchers. They're all pitchers in reality.
It drives me nuts. But I think that everything has to go beautifully for Paxton to get to that 6th and 7th inning. Like, it's got to be like very, very good.
What do you think the Yankees do for Sabathia in that ceremony?
They're going to give him some kind of a gift. They'll do, probably a large donation to the Legacy, the foundation. It'll be a big check. They'll stroll some guys out there. The family come out?
I'm expecting like some video montage of every single time he was brawling and yelling and getting a big strikeout in the 2009 playoffs and all that kind of stuff. Do you think anyone shows up from that championship team?
Well, I think that
like who's in the area? Mariano's in the area.
Mariano's a big guy that can be there.
Teixeira's in the area, and isn't he Connecticut?
Yeah, but
him and Teixeira were boys.
I think Pettit's the guy. Pettit was at the gala that they had.
Yep.
Like Pettit's been very vocal in that whole in the whole CC transition. I think Pettit's played a very big role in the way that he has continued his career with the Yankees. I'm talking about CC.
Yep.
And so I think Pettit's that guy that's on the Yankees.
Hands him the check maybe.
Yeah, he would go out there. I could see like talking to him and doing maybe AJ Burnett comes back.
I was just gonna say that'd be fun.
The two guys, maybe they're reunited from.
They can redo that picture that they took in front of the original Yankee Stadium before it was actually opened. They did it when they signed those guys. I'll never forget that picture of them two standing like on the right up on the top step of the dugout, and everyone was like, "Oh, finally, we see the inside of the new Yankee Stadium."
Yeah. So I think they'll throw some guys out there, but I think it will mostly be about the foundation, the support for that, his family, who's been a big focus. Will be highlighted, I think. And I think it'll just be a nice way to say thank you to a guy that's been really a huge part of this team for 10 years and came in with a freaking blaze, winning a championship, and then has a guy that we've all lived through his struggles. I mean, they've been very public and very out there with his battle with alcohol, the battle with, his weight, the battle with him not being a good pitcher and then reinventing himself a la Andy Pettitte. So I think that there's a lot of that where the Yankee fan base has gone through ups and downs with a guy on a personal level as well. So I think this is going to be a big thank you from the fans and from the organization.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Next episode, we will record on Sunday, so submit your mailbag questions for that Monday episode at bronxpinstripes.com/podcast. You can also call up the voicemail line. It's 646-480-0342, and we will talk to you Monday.
Hey, guys, thanks for listening to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Make sure you find us on iTunes and subscribe so you can get all new episodes directly onto your phone. If you do like the show, we'd love for you to take a minute and give us a 5-star rating and review in iTunes. It really helps us out and allows us to create more shows. We're on Twitter at Bronx Pinstripes and the same on Facebook. You can always find us there talking Yankee baseball. Thanks again, guys, for your support. Really appreciate it, and go Yankees.